All right, guys, let's go and get started with the lesson. So we have two more sections of this lesson to cover before the test. So today and tomorrow are the last two parts of chapter 10. Yes.
It's hot in here.
So what we're looking at today and tomorrow is writing equations of a circle. Now, whenever the center of a circle is at the origin, at the point 0, 0, the equation of a circle, thank you, is given to us by the formula x squared plus y squared equals r squared. This is the equation of a circle when the origin, yes sir?
Is that like the same as a squared plus b squared equals c squared?
A little bit, because it is based off the Pythagorean theorem. So it's close to it. Now, if the circle's center is not at the origin, we're going to use this formula here. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared, where the center is the point h comma k, and the radius of the circle is r.
Do you ever get tired of just doing straight math? Like, do you ever want to do anything else?
I really enjoy this.
How many units are on each circle? Hey, this feels like a lot more running.
So the center of the circle is the point h comma k, and our radius is r. Radius is just the distance from the center of the circle to a point on the circle. Any questions on this here before we start looking at some of the examples? Now the first one we have is this here. So our general equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So the first thing we need to do is find the center of this circle.
Wait, so like this.
The center of the circle is like right there.
Okay. So the center would be, yes sir,
Okay. Is this like graph?
a little bit. So the center of the circle is actually at the origin. And the center of the circle is going to be equidistant from the sides because the radius will be the same. So if we count it over, so 1, 2, 3, here we have, well, if it won't erase, 1, 2, 3. Here, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. Well, since we're looking at just the distance, it would be 3. So since it is 3 units up, down, left, and right from the origin, it's telling us that that is the center. So our center for this here is the point 0, 0. Now our radius, r, is going to equal what? The radius is just the distance from the center of the circle to a point on the circle. Well, each one of these is 3, so the radius has to be 3. Any questions on this so far? Now our center is the point h comma k. So in the equation, we can plug in our values of h and k into the formula. Well, here h and k are both 0. And the radius we can plug in, which is 3. We good with this here so far? Well, x minus 0 is just x, because adding or subtracting 0 goes away, so we're just left with x squared. Y minus 0 squared. And then 3 squared is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. So the equation for this circle is x squared plus y squared equals 9. And that's all we have to do for this here. Yep, that's the answer.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's,
Wait, so x y squared equals 9, and that's the answer?
yes. So for any x, y values that make this true would lie on the circle. So if we looked at, say, the point this here, which is 3, 0, and we plugged it in, it would say that we have 3 squared plus 0 squared is equal to 9. 3 squared is 9. 0 squared is going to say 0. So 9 equals 9.
So if you set any point,
Yeah, we would get a true statement.
So will it always be x squared plus y squared equals a number?
Yes.
Or will we get?
We'll have some values in there for h and k. Yes. So this one here will be a case where we have more than just x squared and y squared. It will be x squared plus y squared if the center of the circle is at the origin at that 0, 0. Here, the circle's where? So we can try this point and see. So here we have a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4. If we go up 1, 2, 3, well, that's still a distance of 4. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, okay, so that is the center. And what is that point? It's at -5, 4, because the x value is -5, and we went up 4. Now the radius is 4. Now the general equation was x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Now our value of h is -5, so we'll plug in -5. Plus y minus k is 4 squared is equal to r squared, or 4 squared. Now, with both of these parentheses here, x minus -5, well, x and 5 aren't like terms, but the negative would make a positive. So we have x plus 5 squared. Well, this will stay y minus 4 squared. Because we don't have a double negative, and y and 4 aren't like terms. And lastly, 4 squared is and that's the answer. Yeah, because once we get the center and the radius, we plug it into the formula and we're done. Any questions on this here? What's interesting is if the point, the value of h or k, the values of the center are negative, in the formula they come up to be what? Positive, yes? Because -5, but if the value is positive, it looks like it is negative. So that's something to pay attention, especially if we go the other way around. I'm going to go on and start off by just writing the formula. Now, did they go on and give us the center already? Yeah, so let's plug in the values of h and k. So we would have what? X minus squared plus y minus and they did give us the radius. So I just had to plug everything in. Now we need to simplify. Well, x minus 0 squared is the same as what? X squared plus y minus -9 is going to become y plus 9 squared. Now the only thing we need to calculate is 4.2. 17.64. And that's it. questions on this here? We like this? We ready for the next one? So a circle with a center at the origin and a radius of 3.5. So x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So with this one here, what's the values of h and k? Because where's the origin? At the center of the graph, which has an x value of and a y value of. So we're saying that we have x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared is equal to 3.5 squared. Now we already said if the value, or if the center is at the origin, it's just going to be x squared plus y squared. So we didn't necessarily have to write that if we knew it was going to factor down to that. We could have gone just to say x squared plus y squared, and 3.5 squared is 12.25. And that's it. Any questions on any of these here? Do we need to see another example of these?
No.
Okay. So we'll skip the next two then. Because if we feel comfortable with these here, we'll move on and not worry about these. Writing the standard equation. The point, negative 5, 6, is on a circle with a center of negative 1, 3. Write the standard equation of the circle. Okay. Standard equation of a circle. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So what's the value of h for this here? So the h value of our center is negative 1. What's the k value? 3, because that's also part of the center. And what's our radius? We don't know. It didn't tell us the radius this time. But the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to a point on the circle, yes? Well, they gave us a point on the circle. They gave us the center, so we just need to find the distance. It's been a while, but we do have a way to find the distance. It's our x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, which incidentally is actually derived from the Pythagorean theorem. And the real key thing with this one here, in each set of these parentheses, we just need to make sure that the x values are together and the y values are together. So with the center and point, what are our two x values? Negative 1 minus negative 5, or we can say negative 5 minus negative 1. Either way, it doesn't make a difference because of the square. Plus our two y values, minus 3. Now, in the previous step, we could type that all into the calculator because we can hit second square root. So get our square root parentheses, negative 1 minus negative 5, close parentheses squared plus open parentheses 6 minus 3, close parentheses squared, hit enter, and it'll tell us that it's 5. I did this first hour.
Your second part to the equation would have to be
It would actually work either way. Yes, and the reason that it does is, and we'll see it here, is because here the negative and negative make a. So negative 1 plus 5 is 4. Now 6 minus 3 is 3 squared. Now if we did it the other way, 3 minus 6, I would get not 3, but negative 3. Yes? Now 4 squared is 16. 3 squared is 9. Negative 3 squared is It's still 9, because negative 3 times negative 3, the negative and negative make a...
So either way it would come out.
Yes, because the only issue that we have with flipping it is it changes it from positive to negative or negative to positive. So here, it doesn't make a difference how we order them. The only one of the main formulas that it does is our slope, because there's no way to adjust for the change in sign. Here, the squares takes care of that. 16 plus 9 is, and the square root of 25 is 5. Which tells us that the radius for this is, not that line, 5. Questions on how we found the radius? Now we do need to do a little bit of simplification, because our negative, subtraction of negative 1 is going to become positive. And if I square 5, I get 25. Because 5 squared would be 25. I think you squared 25.
Yeah.
So the equation for this here should be x plus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 25. And that's it. Incidentally, isn't that r squared the value that we had before we took the square root? Yeah. Any questions on this here? Are we ready for the next one? The point 41 is on a circle with a center of 1, 4. Find the equation of the circle. Okay, so we're going to have to do the same thing again. Now we can go on and plug in the points for h and k. The h value for our center is what? And the k value is? So now we just need to find the radius. Well, I can go on and do that. X minus 1 squared plus y minus 4 squared. And kind of just write it out, so all I need to do is fill in the radius. Whenever we find it, I can plug it in to the first spot, square it, and I have my equation. Now to find the radius, we're going to take the distance of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now the two x values that we have are 1 and 4, so we can say 4 minus 1 if we want to keep the values positive, plus the two y values are 1 and 4. And again, at this point here, we can type this entire thing into the calculator. If we did this by hand, well, 4 minus 1 is going to be 3 squared. 4 minus 1 is going to be 3 squared. Now 3 squared is 9, and 3 squared is, which gives us the square root of, which if you plugged it into a calculator, I believe it told you that it's 3 square root of 2. Now, if I didn't have a calculator, I would plug in the radius as the square root of 18. Because it's a little bit easier to see this here. Because if I square a square root, the square root and square cancel out. Because if I square a square root, they simplify. Because what we're saying is the square root of 18 times the square root of 18. And whenever, so it'd be square root 18 times 18. A square root is looking for what number times itself gives us that number. Well, we have 18 times 18, so it has to be 18. Now, we could have plugged 3 square root of 2 into there, and that will work just fine. Because 3 square root of 2 squared, so 3 times 3 is 9, times square root of 4. Well, what's the square root of 4? 2. 9 times 2 is 18. We'd get to the same spot. I would use the square root of 18 if I didn't have a calculator, because I know that those will simplify, giving us just 18. If you do have a calculator, parentheses 3 squared of 2, close parentheses, squared, will give you the same answer. So this here is our equation. Any questions on any of this here? Let's look at one last one, and then we will be done for today. So, standard equation is it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to our radius squared, yes? So we could type out or write out the general formula with h and k, but I have a feeling at this point we have a good understanding of what the formula is. Now they told us the center is 1, 4, so the value of h is, and the value of k is. Do we know what the radius is? Now we can use the distance formula. Square root. So we would have our x values being subtracted and squared. So the two x values are 3 minus 1. We'll do the same thing with our x values, which is 4 and 4. That's kind of nice. Yes. So, if we're looking at this here, 3 minus 1 would be 2 squared, plus, well, 4 minus 4 is 0 squared. 2 squared is 4. 0 squared is 0. So our distance is square root of 2, which, not square root of 2. Square root of 4, which works out to be 2. I got ahead of myself. So the radius for this is which would tell us that we have x minus 1 squared plus y minus 4 squared is equal to 2 squared is. Now you're not going to have to graph these on the homework, but I want to go on and look at how we would graph these. Because if we're graphing a circle, the first place I would start is at the center. So we would go over 1 and up 4, and I would put a point. I would put a point for the center. Now, a circle is defined as a point and all the points that are a set distance away from it, which is our radius, which is 2. So from here, I can go 2 units to the right, and that would be a point on the circle, yes? We could also go, say, 2 units up. We can also go 2 units to the left. That's too far. Right there, and we can also go 2 units. So all 4 of those points would be on the circle, yes? Connect them. Yeah, neither is mine. Because I completely missed the bottom point. But that's it. I mean, if we were drawing a circle, we would do this here. If we wanted to be 100% accurate, we would get a compass out and use that. But if we're at least trying to get somewhere close, that's all we have to do. Use the radius to find the points, 4 points up, down, left, right, and connect them, and that's it. Questions on anything we've done so far today? Yes.
Can you make the digital circle since it's all made out of squares? The perfect circle.
Yes.
I mean, it was like built out of like square circle made out of squares. Doesn't mean it's perfect.
No, it gets close. We approximate.
Okay.
Now, this is the last thing we're going to do. There's 2 problems and we're done. These here, they're actually pretty easy. We're not going to focus so much on the graph, but we do want to find the center Center and radius. We want to find the center and radius. Now the standard equation, I'm going to go on and write it in, is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So let's get a highlighter. So our value of h is lined up right here, yes? In the general equation, is the sign between x and h positive or negative?
So it's negative 4.
Right, so we have x plus 4, yes? In the general equation, it's x minus h. What's the only way with addition and subtraction that we can change a sign from being negative to positive? With another negative, because if we subtract a negative, the negative and negative make a. So if we have plus 4, it means, well, that value is going to have to be negative 4. Whenever we come out of a set of parentheses that's being squared to some power, we have to change the sign.
Take the 1 from over there. And then square root of 16, you get 4.
Yes, because we're saying here, r squared is 16. If we square root both sides, r squared is going to be r. Square root of 16 is. And that's it. Questions on this here? We ready for the last one? So h and k, our value for the center is right there. Since it's both negative, the values of h and k are both positive. So we'd have 1 and the radius of 2, because the square root of 4 is 2. So on the test, do make sure, or on the review or the assignments, I would make sure that this does come in the form where x is first and y is second. Because, I mean, if they wrote it as same thing, it's just h and k are in flip-flopped. So it's just something to pay attention to.
I see instead of time again that
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so 8 problems.